No, that was actually a good loss. It really was. I thought I would hop on here a little bit early because I figure a lot of you are going out of town, coming into town, family around, might not have caught this one. So Warriors Thunder, second matchup of the season, Wednesday night. No Steph Curry. Kind of a rest game, tendonitis in the knee. I think we've all seen that he's laboring a little bit of late. And I tweeted out before the game, I was like, no Steph here and there can be a good thing. Probably not against the Thunder when you're dealing with that type of firepower or that type of defense, right? But generally speaking, a game here and there, it just allows, it doesn't even allow, it forces other things. It forces other guys to be aggressive and perhaps find a rhythm and stuff like that. And so Thunder in town, they're looking for revenge. They're still right atop the Western Conference. Isaiah Hartenstein, their new starting center, still no Chet Holmgren, right? And the first quarter, it's like, dang, we're playing harder, but we're outmatched. You can see the talent and the firepower of this Thunder team. Their defense, they are one of the more handsy teams we've seen in the last handful of years. And you combine that with length, effort and reputation. And it's almost, I had it in my notes. You remember that Legion of Boom, that Seahawks defense years ago, where it was like, well, the reputation allowed them to get away with more, being handsy, hand fighting, and being physical. And I think you see that with this Thunder defense as far as like strips and rips. Even if it's arm and wrist, they get the benefit of the doubt because of their reputation. And you saw Kaminga, was it Pat Spencer got a tee, and we'll get to him here in a second. But there were several tees out of frustration of kind of like, hey man, I'm getting ripped across the forearm and y'all aren't calling nothing. The game looks like it's going to get out of hand and get away quick. They're up 14-15. I don't know. You know me, I'm not a stat guy, right? But the feeling of the game towards the end of the first quarter was like, oh, this could get ugly really quick, right? They just start scrapping back. They just start doing it off of effort and defense. And that leads me to Day, Draymond. Now, is it a coincidence I just called him out for his defensive effort? It very well could be. It very well could be because it was an issue. Like if the Warriors went home from where were we at? We were at home when we got beat by Brooklyn. We were already home. But if the Warriors had a day off, looked at the tape, and, Draymond looked at the tape and was like, yeah. And he knows himself internally. He had been dogging it, right? And so it could really just be a coincidence. Like, okay, I got to step it up. I have been dogging it. Or he could be subbed to your boy's channel. No, but that's the Draymond that we want. And I understand at his age, we can't see that every night. I understand that, right? He has to pick his spots at times, but there had been too many games in a row where we hadn't seen it. His effort was night and day on his rotations, jumping up at the top of the screen, rotating, and just his overall effort level. And what do you know? The whole team, it carried down throughout the whole team, right? And so it was just an effort level that kind of hung them around and F that. We're not going to take this. We're not getting blown off our home court. Not tonight, not on ESPN against this Thunder team. And I think it also matters the opponent, right? If this is Brooklyn, you might not have seen that F that, right? They got up for this Oklahoma City team. So they battle back and make it somewhat competitive. I guess the second story outside of Draymond showing us that he still got it, right? Flipping the switch. Pat Spencer gets minutes. And I'm not going to lie to you. When he first checked in, I was like, really, Steve? I was like, man, you're not going to just like take this opportunity, because there was some minutes there where I was like, all right, let's just call this game off. Let Pods and Kaminga play 35 minutes and hopefully they can like get a rhythm. Let Kaminga get his rhythm back from being out, and maybe Pods can make some shots and feel good about himself. In comes Pat Spencer. Well, Pat Spencer's a dog. Pat Spencer is intense, bro. Like he ain't playing no games. And I think what sticks out to me most is how strong he is with the ball, how decisive he is. Obviously, turnovers are probably the Warriors' biggest Achilles heel, right? And that was no different in the beginning of this game. And OKC, the leading team in turnovers in the league. But Pat Spencer is forceful. Like, that's the one thing is like, I feel good about him bringing up the ball against any type of ball pressure. He just gets into the body. He's decisive. And he had an impact, man. He had an impact. He even picked up a tee, and I liked the tee because it was like, nah, man, I don't care, referee, if you don't know who I am. Like, that's a foul, and I'm here to play. And so he set the tone. Second half, what was it? 8-9 point deficit. It was like, all right, the Warriors are hanging around. Richard Jefferson, the ESPN show. Shout out to RJ, man. He cracked me up. I like RJ. He annoyed me as a player. He might be a better commentator than player. Now, he was a pretty damn good player, even back to U of A. But they come out, it's like, oh, the Warriors are hanging around. They're getting frisky here. Was it the end of the second quarter when J-Dub got poked in the eye? Kaminga, and we'll get to him here in a second, had a big rip-through dunk down the middle of the paint, and as he swung his arm to elevate, he caught Jalen Williams, J-Dub, in the eye. Scary, just due to the reaction. I don't even want to go there, right? But it just seemed extreme for an eye poke. So you hope that J-Dub can have a full recovery from this because he didn't return for the second half, and that's obviously a big part of this story, right? But it was just a scary eye poke where he was like belly down for a long time, and we just didn't see him again. So prayers out to him, and hopefully that's nothing too serious. So they don't have him in the second half. Moses Moody comes in, I don't know, some midway through the third quarter, and he picks up like 2-3 quick fouls on SGA, but I liked them. I liked them because they were off ball. Two of them were off ball, and he was mugging them. He was doing the GP2 thing. He was just getting handsy, pushing him around, like running through a screen and a stop and goal. And it was like, no, we're just going to make you feel uncomfortable, bro. We're going to get real physical with you. And that's where it started. And it carried on through the rest of that second half where SGA all of a sudden became inefficient. All of a sudden, SGA was settling for threes. I have, listen, he is probably the leader for MVP right now. There's no doubt about it. But the reality is SGA is not truly battle-tested. He's not truly battle-tested. He's been in the playoffs. We know he can score, but the Warriors rattled him tonight. And so that was kind of interesting and fun to see, and that's what kept them in this game and just an effort level, right? But ultimately, what did we have, like a 6-minute drought to close the game? But I don't know how you can be mad at it. Steve subbing in guys in and out and all this stuff. But the effort level in the defense, what was the score? They barely scored 100 either teams. That was the defense that we saw to start the season. And that's why I'm so excited about it. Okay, we didn't beat the Thunder, right? Okay, fine. But they showed us the defense that we saw to start the season, led by Draymond Green. Pat Spencer, I don't know how. We can't add to the rotation, but he was ready to go. There was a scene, I say a scene, but there was a cut to the Warriors bench, and everyone was this was after the half. Everyone was in their warm-ups, keeping warm or whatever, and Pat was no warm-ups, leaned over like this, ready to check back in, I won't back in. So I don't know how you find a way to use him or what that is, but he was a part of this. Back and forth, no one can make a shot. And again, you can't be mad at the shots. Pajemski. I don't know how y'all can root against this kid. I understand the frustration. He misses some bad shots. Bob Myers was like, he's aiming his ball. He is definitely in his head about the three ball, and it's frustrating. And there are some frustrating things about a young player that's being asked to do a lot. But I don't know how you can root against this dude because you can see him pushing through. The couple plays he did get offensively, he's like, nah, I'm not going to accept this. I'm going to push through. And I think he's had a little breakthrough moment, at least finishing. He's figuring out a way to finish, and he's taking a page from slow-mo, right? That decel heavy step where he just takes the 1-2 and then hangs on the final step, finds the body and lets it go late, got the and one. And so that's encouraging, right? Can't leave out JK. Y'all gonna be like, what about Kaminga? What did he have? 19 points? And he started off slow. I didn't love that he started off. He took maybe his first 3 shots were threes, and then he started to get downhill, right? And this is kind of who we know Kaminga to be. The more minutes he plays, the longer the game goes on, the more effective he seems to become. And that's the most frustrating part about it, right? Is the quick leash that Kerr has. We all know, hey, if he gets 25, 30 minutes, he usually gets to going, And then he almost damn near gets dominant, right? And he got downhill and played really physical, got some good minutes on SGA. One thing I noticed, and I'm going to look at this in the breakdown tomorrow, which will be out, by midday. But what I think I was watching, because I'm just super analyzing his defense and why it's not where it needs to be, and he does these little jump stops that I don't like. He's not fundamentally sound defensively. And it almost seems like his weight is back on his heels, and he doesn't have his weight enough on his toes, but he's so athletic that he almost gets away with it. But he gave some really good minutes on SGA and was physical. And, I thought, it was interesting. I think the telecast brought it up too. He wasn't in on that final possession. And this isn't fair to say because Wiggins played well. Like Wiggins has been good. We can all agree, right? But if that's Kaminga catching that ball, pretty sure he plants on 2 feet and probably put somebody in the rim. But Wiggins, kind of shied away from the contact and tried to finish it all in one scooping finish. But that's neither here nor there. That's not fair to second guess that. But Kaminga looked really good in his return. But I think the key is he needs to work up a lather, right? Very rarely does Kaminga come into the game or start looking good right away. He's a second half player, and he needs to get a rhythm and touch the ball. And he was a big part of keeping us in this game, giving us some offensive firepower. And I liked his effort defensively. So hopefully he can build from that. And hopefully Steve can give him the opportunity to get going, because it seems like when you give him that opportunity, eventually he starts rolling, right? But ultimately at the end, SGA finally hits a three, but I hadn't seen SGA kind of get physically bullied like that. I can't remember seeing that maybe earlier in his career. And we got a shot, right? What are we down? They missed some free throws. And it was an inbound play, a set that I hadn't seen the Warriors run. I'm assuming that was a Stotts set right there. And Wiggins just simply got sped up, right? He tried to catch and finish all in one motion. There was still 4 seconds left on the clock. Yeah, it'd have been great to get the win. But all in all, we head into Thanksgiving. I'm thankful that the Warriors showed us like, okay, no, it wasn't a fluke. We could still do this. Now, can you sustain it, right? And then obviously you miss Steph. You miss Steph's offensive firepower to put the game away. But again, it's all the other little things in the defense that kept him in the game, and the fight, the competitive spirit. That's encouraging. Slow-mo had a nice game, right? But yeah, you get Steph back Saturday against the Suns, who are rolling. Minnesota's been up and down. Denver. The West, I saw a thumbnail today on YouTube. The West is a bloodbath. It is. It is. But there's not many of these. There's not many of these games where I'm going to sit here and tell y'all, hey, man, it was a good loss. There's not. But this was one of them. And I'm grateful for that because it had been discouraging the last 3 games. So we move forward to Phoenix, get Steph back. And if they can refine this identity of defense and effort, then we're going to be all right. As tough as this Western Conference is going to be. Hey, y'all enjoy this Thanksgiving with your friends, families, and loved ones. I'm grateful for y'all checking out the channel and all the support. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.